Hey guys, it's Courtney here from Rose Bloom, where we intentionally design our life and business with the cosmos. And today I'm going to talk to you guys about the Scorpio New Moon, which is happening on the night of October 14th, and it's going to be happening at 23 degrees of Scorpio. So, as always, I highly recommend pulling up your own birth chart and locating where 23 degrees of Scorpio is. For example, I know that I have Pluto at 23 degrees of Scorpio, so this moon is going to be exactly conjunct my natal Pluto, which is going to affect or change the way that this new moon changes me or affects me. So it's really helpful to know that. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about what we can expect from this new moon. First of all, I just wanted to say that this new moon is conjunct an asteroid called Juno. And Juno is a marriage asteroid, but it really represents our devotion to something. And devotion, I guess, past the point of sanity almost. Like you're so devoted to it that it doesn't necessarily matter if it's hurting you or helping you, you're in it. And so I feel like this energy already with Scorpio, which is a very ambitious sign, combined with Juno, is telling us to give ourselves fully over to our ambitions or our dreams or our goals. So, whatever it is in your life that you have been wanting to make progress with and haven't necessarily made that progress lately, this is your chance. Mars is just now moving direct, and the day after it moves direct, we have this new moon coming in and saying, this is a time to plant the seed of intention of the actions that you want to take to move forward to strive towards your goals. This new moon is going to be very, very positive. And just make sure that you stay tuned to your rising sign. And you can always find the links in the description. But I'll give you guys what that's going to look like specifically for you, and then of course the overall energy. So as I was mentioning, this new moon is looking really, really positive, which is something that I feel like we have needed for a long time. Scorpio is inherently a more challenging sign. It requires more out of us. And so there are going to be some elements there where we're going to have to move through shadows and really believe in ourselves in order for that ambition to get us somewhere. So inherently that's kind of built into Scorpio. However, it's being really positively supported through the different angles that it's making to planets. First of all, it's making a sextile to Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and the asteroid Pallas Athena. So all of these are really saying that it's going to be a wonderful time to start new projects, for new opportunities to start flowing. Whenever there is a sextile to Jupiter, is basically saying that all the benevolent energy of Jupiter is coming to lift you up and support you. On top of that, not only is it a good time to make connections, make opportunities happen, for changes to occur, it's also going to be supported by a strong work ethic with a sextile to Saturn, saying that if you put in the work, you will get something out of it and it will be rewarding for you. And then on top of that, with Pluto, with a sextile to Pluto, you're going to have more inner reserves. You're going to have that inner fire and passion in order to make these things like happen. And it's really beautiful to have the support from Pluto, especially with a new moon in Scorpio, because Pluto is the ruling planet of Scorpio. So they have very similar energies. So they are working in harmony together, basically saying that you can absolutely achieve whatever your ambition desires if you just put in the time and the effort. And again, that's going to require you to undergo some deep inner transformation in order for that to occur, which means it's not going to necessarily be handed to us or be easy, but it's possible. And it's like this first seed of light that we're starting to receive after so many challenging things happening, after so many retrogrades. It's like finally that go ahead. On top of that, Jupiter is conjunct Pluto, or that just happened recently. So essentially what that means is that this is a strong manifestation energy. It can also sort of multiply the negative things in our life, and I've mentioned this time and time again. So it's going to be really important for you to focus your thoughts on positive things at this time. So direct your energy into things where it's actually going to bear fruit for you, where it's actually going to bring things into your life, instead of focusing on the things that are out of your control or the things that are negative that are happening in this world. And then it's making a sextile to Pallas Athena, which I think is really interesting, that there are two key feminine asteroids playing a role here. Juno, which is showing us to invest ourselves into what we're doing, mind, body, and soul. And then Pallas Athena is coming in here to support, saying that there is this inner warrior within us that can overcome all the obstacles. And we are being supported to show that inner warrior and to use that within our work. So if you feel like you're coming up against obstacles, you can pull on that Pallas Athena energy to then support you and help you throughout this process. On top of this, it's making a trine to Neptune. So I do feel like there is a deeper spiritual backing behind what we're doing. The universe is giving us the green light, the go ahead, saying, we support you. We want you to be working on this right now. And so this trine is a really beautiful thing. At the same time, sometimes trines to Neptune can make us feel like a little bit lazier, but I feel like with all the other energy, it's more of a spiritual aspect rather than, an aspect of laziness. So I would say take the time to meditate, take the time to ground yourself and ensure that the action that you are moving forward with is something that feels spiritually aligned, because I don't think you will actually be able to last throughout all the challenges unless you are spiritually aligned with that path. So it has to have like a deeper, more purposeful why for you in order for this to really bear fruit 6 months from now when we have the full moon in Scorpio. So those are the aspects that are happening specifically to the Scorpio moon. And now I'm just going to talk about what else is going on in the sky that is not interacting necessarily with the moon. So we have a tense angle, a square between Venus and Jupiter, Venus and Saturn, Venus and Pluto, and Venus and Pallas Athena. So basically all that positive energy that was just supporting us, it's still making a tense angle with Venus. And what that means is that the area around money and relationships can feel quite tense at this time. There might still be some unresolved issues, some things that need to have tension in order for you to take action to resolve them. On top of that, what I really think about with Venus is our perspective about the beauty in life and feeling really optimistic, feeling really loved, feeling really supported. And while I do think that this moon is supporting us, I also think that we won't necessarily feel like this light and fluffy feeling around this this new moon. And I think that's a given, knowing what's going on in the world around us at this time. So that also could be the possibility coming in with this square to Venus, is that yes, we're making action. Yes, we are taking action. Yes, we are making progress, but it's not necessarily going to feel as light and easy as we want it to already. The other aspect of this, if we take it kind of bit by bit and look at each square, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend because you want to look at the whole picture, but some of these keywords can kind of fit together to create a whole picture. So I'm going to break it down for you anyway. So when we have a Venus squared to Jupiter, this can often represent, again, like this like laziness, because Venus is us enjoying things in our life, and so is Jupiter. And so when these are making a conversation with each other, we don't necessarily always have like the stamina to desire hard work to make things happen. So that's a possibility that we might have to overcome. We've had this like months of stagnation with Mars retrograde that we might have to like kick things into high gear, but we've already kind of developed this habit of taking things a little bit easier or doing things a little bit slower and things not progressing. So that shift into a different gear might jolt us a little bit, and this square might be challenging us in that way to make that shift or make that progress. Venus making a square to Saturn can make us feel less harmonious within our relationships. So it can make us feel disheartened about the people in our lives. It can make us feel lonely or like we are further distanced from those that we love. And I think that makes a lot of sense given what's happening with the election. I think a lot of people are celebrating and a lot of people are saddened by that. And so there is this discord that is happening already. So that Venus square Saturn makes a lot of sense. However, this energy obviously will be moving quickly past. It's not going to be hanging out there forever. And then Venus square Pluto, this can bring some toxicity coming up through relationships. And I feel like this is going to be more so in global relationships, like in politics, how people are fighting back. There can be manipulation, there can be scandals, and that is really where like the Venus square Pluto, I think, will come into play. So I think as a global or as a collective, community, we will experience these energies in that type of way, where there's going to be still tenseness going on in relationships with people, still manipulation and power issues related to economics and related to politics. Those things have always been existing, but I think they will be more so at the forefront during this new moon as well. But still, besides all that, we're still going to be making personal progress and even, collective progress towards being more evolved and towards going after our dreams. So the last point that I want to talk about before I get into each of the signs is Mercury is making a quincunx to Chiron and is opposing Uranus. So Mercury has been opposing Uranus for a while now. And whenever it's opposing Uranus, it's giving us surprising news or brand new ideas, breakthroughs. It's like the genius strike. But again, it can also be surprising news, unexpected things, or I guess like a way of viewing things or new insights that come in that kind of jolt you. And because it's making such a harsh angle to Chiron, there's this news or this insight is coming in order to help us heal. But I think instead of helping us heal, it's going to feel quite painful. So maybe this is something that will have to come to a resolution at a later point in time. But I feel like right now, whatever news starts to come in around this new moon is not going to be, is going to be painful for some people, if not all people. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm not sure what's going to come to fruition, but there can be choice words with people that you love, or there could be news that comes in regards to politics or the environment or the economy. I feel like something is going to be happening at that time that's going to feel quite painful or uncomfortable. And then I'm going to talk to you guys about where that might fall in your own personal chart. Okay, up next we have Gemini Rising. So for you, this new moon in Scorpio is happening in your 6th house of health, daily routines, and work. So I like this for you guys. When I think of the 6th house, it's not really like your career, like your purpose in the world. It's more so you working with other people, like you working for an employer. And I very much think it revolves around our habits. Like, what does our day look like? How have we constructed our day? And what I like about Scorpio is that it's a very inquisitive sign and it can get down to the bottom of things really quickly. So I feel like this new moon is giving you the opportunity to really give yourself a deep analysis of the way that you are spending your time. How are you taking care of your body and your health? How is your sleep? How is your food? How are you spending time, as I mentioned? How are you showing up at work? And it's really like an expenditure of your energy and like taking account of it. So how much energy goes to this? How much energy goes to this? And is that reflective of my values? I really feel like this new moon is giving you the opportunity to make changes in your outer tangible world, like how you structure your day, for example, that is ultimately a reflection of how much work you've been doing internally. Because this new moon is making a sextile to Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in your 8th house. It's been moving, these planets have been moving through here for the past year. And as I mentioned time and time and again, this is one of the most challenging transits out of all the zodiac signs. Because basically it means that you guys have done a shit ton of internal work, shadow work, really facing your demons. And it's almost like you can't fully catch a break with this. Like it's like these planets are saying you have to transform. You have to step up. And the North Node is in your sign. The North Node is the node of destiny. And it calls us to our purpose as a people. And you cannot step into your purpose as the same person you were yesterday. What you're doing right now is shedding your old self. And in order to complete that process, This new moon in Scorpio is coming in and saying, okay, you have done so much of the internal work to shed your old self, to up level, to become that person that your North Node signifies. But now we need to change the things in your minute daily life, in the external world, in your calendar, in your body. Like the little things that really add up, that really make up our lives. Those are the things that now need to be changed to reflect all of the purging that you've done on the inside. So you can't just do the shadows and then keep eating the same way. You know, like you can't do all this shadow work and not sleep, not eat well, not manage your time well, and still achieve your purpose. You have to do both. You have to do the internal work and the external work. And so this new moon is saying, okay, it's time to do the external work. You've put in so much effort up to this point. Good job. But now we're shifting more from the feminine into the masculine. So the feminine is like the internal healing, and then the masculine is the external action. Like, okay, let's put this into practice. Let's make a regimented schedule. Let's make a routine. And so I think that's going to be really important for you to focus on the way that you are showing up in your daily life. This is also making a trine to Neptune in your 10th house. So that means that as you do this, you are going to start manifesting more in your career. It is going to ultimately support your purpose, and your purpose is ultimately going to support this. They're going to feed off of each other in a symbiotic relationship. So I absolutely love this. It's going to give you more intuitive downloads in your career as well. If you are not eating well and you're not sleeping well, you are going to be disconnected from source more so than you would otherwise. So having this trine to Neptune is basically saying the more that you do the outer work to reflect the inner work you've already done, the more in alignment you will be and the easier things will flow in your career. You guys also have Venus and Libra in the 5th house, and this is making a square to Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter in your 8th house. So it's interesting because wherever Venus is, it's giving us blessings in that area of our life. So for you, you have been currently experiencing blessings in regards to your creative self-expression. You've been having new ideas come in. How can I bring this thing to life? That is really flourishing right now. However, it's making a square to all these planets in the 8th house, where again, they've been moving to the 8th house all year, asking you to do the shadow work. So when there's a square, there's tension that needs to be resolved. So it's basically saying that you cannot fully tap into your creative essence until you address these shadows. So I don't think that the shadow work that you are doing this year is going to be done truly until 2021. I think it's never done, but I think you're going to achieve new levels in 2021. So this square happening between Venus and Libra and all these planets, Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto in the 8th, is basically saying there are still some shadows that are preventing you from feeling really light, from feeling really free, from feeling really childlike and playful and fun. There's some heaviness you still need to let go of. And then when you let go of those things, you can step into that Leo energy of, again, feeling playful, and you can start to create things that have never been seen before. Because creating from a place of being healed is actually really powerful. So let me kind of explain what I mean by that. Because I know this is what I used to think. I used to think that artists did their best work when they were suffering. So it was the breakup songs. It was, I don't know, the artist who cut his ear off. Like those are the ones that are doing the best because they're like really suffering in life. And I always wondered about that because it's been so important to me to be a writer, to write things and to create things. And then one day I realized that we can equally create, or maybe even better, works of art from a spiritual place. So inspiration can come from pain and from our spiritual essence. And I think we create such beautiful artwork from pain because that's when we are typically our most spiritual. It's when we're our most raw, vulnerable, open, and that's when spirit comes and fills us with this ability to express those pains, those hurts. And I kind of feel like that's what this square is saying, is it's our time to channel the shadows and all the things, the heaviness, channel it through your work to heal and to be healed. And I feel like these can be a supportive energy together. So I hope that makes sense because I feel like I kind of went back on what I was saying earlier, so maybe you might have to rewind it. But I think that there's tension between the shadows and the creativity. There is tension, but I think that there is meant to be a unison. There's meant to be a positive angle here. And I feel like the tension is saying that maybe the shadow work needs to be done first before you can have these beautiful creative ideas fully come in to support your career. I think that's what the tension is saying, is that it's not necessarily happening at the same time always. So again, I hope that makes sense because I'm not, this is interpretation. So there's always different ways to interpret astrology. You guys also have Mercury in the 8th house. And I'm sorry, you guys have Mercury in the 6th house. And it's opposing Uranus in the 12th house. So I think you guys are starting to get these new ideas and you're starting to understand, like, for your career. And I think you're starting to understand, I'm sorry, not your career, like your job, because as I mentioned, I don't think your career is the same as your job. So you're starting to get new ideas, like, okay, here's how I can schedule my time. Here's how I can take better care of myself. And it's making opposition to Uranus in the 12th house. So I do feel like you're getting some spiritually divine insights about how to do this. You're getting support from the spiritual realm. I also think you're releasing some things from the past in order to step into this new version of yourself that is able to keep the schedule or whatever you're trying to do to create a better outward manifesting reality. So you're getting support to release things from the past. You're getting support from spirit about the insights and what you need to do, but it's making a quincunx to Chiron in the 11th house. And having a quincunx to Chiron is bringing up issues around things from our childhood and things from the past, yes, like past lives, but in the 11th house. So making a quincunx to Chiron in the 11th house can show that while you are starting to make progress in these new ideas about how to structure your life, there might be painful or uncomfortable situations coming up from the past in relation to support from friendships. And it's kind of hard. I'm trying to think of an example because I have Gemini sun, so this relates to me as well. I think that, for example, when you are creating an external change in your life, sometimes your friends still see you as another person. So if you're trying to be somebody who goes to bed at 9 p.m. every night, but you normally go to bed at 1 and you stay up late and you hang out with your friends or you talk to them on the phone and like you're messing around, goofing around or whatever. If you suddenly like start to make this change in your life where you're trying to become that person who goes to bed at 9, your friends are not going to understand that. I mean, some of them will, but like there's definitely going to be a degree in which you have to experience people seeing you in one way because you've always been that way while you're trying to be another way. And so there could be some things coming up like that. Or just anything where you don't feel necessarily supported in making these changes. And it could be things from the past. So I don't know how that would come up now, but there is some kind of existing wound there. And the other element of the 11th house and even the 10th house is like this element of being seen. And that could also be it as well, where you are making these outer changes. You've done a lot of inner work. And these outer changes are kind of like the last little bit of things that you need to do before you can fully break out and shine in your career. And it's almost like there could be this pain around fully being seen. And you might not even realize it. Like, what if you are somebody who does achieve all of your goals and wishes? What if you are somebody who completely up levels to the next version of yourself? There's oftentimes a fear in that as well. So there's a fear because there is a death in that process. The old you is dying. You have to release things. You have to release a lot of things, maybe even some friendships that aren't in line with that. And so it's kind of like sometimes I think we unconsciously hold ourselves back because deep down we know that we literally have to die and resurrect a new version of ourselves. And that kind of goes in line with being seen. It's like reaching your ultimate potential is oftentimes what we fear, and people say that all the time, but I never really understood it, like in the way that I never really agreed with it, because I was like, I don't have that. But then when I truly sat down and I wrote down all of the qualities of myself that I would have to release to become this new version of myself with all these goals achieved, I realized that scared me, that I wasn't ready to release all these things. I wanted to be the person that I still am. And so there can be that element as well, where it's like, oh, fuck. Like I still have these things to let go of. But overall, this is a really positive new moon. And again, it's going to be supporting you in making changes to your everyday life. Taking care of your body. I was going to say your health, but that's the same thing. And time management, as well as energy management, especially in regards to your daily work. So I hope that this was helpful. If so, please leave a comment below. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.